Welcome to the Insert Philosophy Here podcast. Inserting the principles of philosophy into real life. The first topic of this podcast should be why this podcast? Why does it exist? What is the point of it? Why insert philosophy here? Well, I've taught philosophy for over 20 years at universities in the United States, the United Kingdom, and now in Czech Republic. And one of the things that's always frustrated me about teaching philosophy at the university level is how little exposure people have to philosophy, any real exposure to it. Most people have a negative view of philosophy, and that's because they've either never been taught about philosophy at all, or they've been taught it so poorly that they can't help but have a negative opinion about it. The idea that our culture has in general is that philosophy is just this weird thing that dead white guys did a long time ago, and it really has no effect or purpose other than sitting there thinking and navel-gazing. This, of course, is nonsense, but people who believe that have good reason to believe that because, again, that's what they've been taught. So my main purpose with my website, my YouTube channel, and now with this podcast is to try and show people how philosophy matters, how we can insert philosophy here, and here into our lives to make our lives better. That is, in my mind, very passionately, the purpose of philosophy, to make life better. The problem I have with other podcasts, YouTube channels, and websites that talk about philosophy is that on the one extreme, there is this very kind of inside baseball sort of dense one philosopher interviewing another philosopher about this tiny little thing that they talked about, this tiny little thing that they think about, and that's just not helpful to people. Philosophy has to be accessible. Philosophy has to be something where you present it to people in a way that they don't need to have a degree in philosophy to understand it. I mean, I read some of that stuff and watch some of that stuff too, because, of course, I have to in my profession. But that doesn't reach people. To talk about, I'm going to interview so-and-so whose critique of so-and-so's response to so-and-so's essay, it just doesn't help. So that's the one extreme, is this very dry, opaque philosophy that comes off as very condescending and very unhelpful to people. But the other extreme, and this is especially bad on YouTube for the last few years, these philosophy channels and a couple podcasts are like this as well, that really try to dumb down philosophy, that try to sex up philosophy or whatever it is they're trying to do. But what they're doing is they're trying to make philosophy kind of wacky and weird and fun and, hey, kids, look at this. And that doesn't work either, because philosophy isn't a cartoon, philosophy isn't a game, philosophy isn't just this navel-gazing, hey, sort of thing that a lot of these podcasts and channels are portraying it as. Philosophy is very serious. Philosophy is dealing with the most serious issues that we could possibly consider. About meaning, about purpose, about justice, about fairness, about knowledge, about truth, and on and on and on. Philosophy is a serious process. It's not a game, but it's also not something that deserves to be trapped in an ivory tower. It's very deeply meaningful to our lives. I am enough of a dork that I love philosophy. I really do. As soon as I encountered it at university when I was very young, I said that's what I want to do with my life. I want to teach philosophy, write about philosophy, and of course read and experience philosophy. And I've always been stuck between these two extremes of the very overly stuffy ivory tower philosophy, which is almost no philosophy at all because it has no real connection with real life, and this world that doesn't want philosophy, that doesn't want to think deeply. And if we can see how politics goes in a number of countries, and I won't name any particular countries, but in recent political machinations and elections, we see how a lack of intelligent engagement, a lack of deep understanding, a lack of desire to have anything other than just this pure emotional, I agree, yeah, with this attitude has really harmed things. So the world needs philosophy, but the world needs philosophy that is not dumbed down, but is also accessible to people and their lives. So insert philosophy here. Not in an ivory tower, not in a cartoon, here in real life. So that's the purpose of this podcast. That's the purpose of, well, my career, my life, my overriding goal in life, to show how philosophy matters, and of course to do what philosophy has always been meant to do more than anything else: improve our lives.